Hello, and welcome to the Simply Business Interview Podcast, a podcast created by business owners for business owners. I am your host, John Jennings. And I believe that most business owners are working way too hard for much too little. And one of our issues is that we overcomplexify things. I believe the answers are almost always within us or within our reach. I like to say that I'm a simple man with simple ideas. So welcome to Simply Business. Today, we are joined by Tina Baxter, who's the owner of Baxter Professional Services. She has an interesting story, and she's doing a number of things. So we're going to hear I think, some very unique business opportunities that she's been involved with, things that she's doing. Tina, why don't you first introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about what you do.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm Tina Baxter, as you said, and I'm from Anderson, Indiana. I'm a nurse practitioner by background, so my specialty is gerontology, older adults, and my subspecialty is geropsychiatry, so the mental health of older adults. I've had the privilege of working in a variety of settings as a nurse. I worked in long-term care as a CNA, and then later as a nurse practitioner. I've also worked in psychiatry as a registered nurse, was a nurse supervisor and nurse manager, a nurse educator in that field, in that space. And I've learned a lot about what nurses do in different areas. So I've worked in hospice, I've worked in long-term care, I've worked home care. So I've worked in a variety of different settings. And one thing that stands out to me is that nurses are just wonderful and incredibly innovative. So fast forward to a few years ago, right at the height of the recession, right? I found myself in between jobs as a nurse practitioner and living off of severance and trying to figure out what I was going to do. And a friend of mine was opening up a business to help people get jobs by training them to become certified nursing assistants. So she asked me to come alongside. So I came on board that company, and we built that to have not only the certified nursing assistant program, we trained home health aides, we trained qualified medication assistants. We opened up a clinic for our students because we found out that, guess what? They don't have access to healthcare. So we had a lot of untreated health conditions like high blood pressure, etc. So we did those things, and we were going really strong for about 10 years. And then my business partners decided it's time for us to retire. And I'm like, oh, nope, I want to keep going.
Yeah.
So about 9 years ago now, in 2015, I started a second company. I was still with the other company, and by the time, and I was also working full time as well as a nurse practitioner still. So I founded another company called Baxter Professional Services. And that company was to help attorneys with their medical cases. I had asked to consult on a medical case and sat on a medical review panel here in Indiana. And I found out that I really enjoyed that line of work. And so I wanted to be able to do that. So I had to create a new vehicle for me to do this separately from the other business. And that's what I did. And then we've grown since then. So not only do I provide legal nurse consulting services, but I got bit by the entrepreneurial bug. And so we now have the Nurse Shark Academy as well. The Nurse Shark Academy, we help individuals, nurses, and others in the healthcare field to build and launch their own businesses. I like to help in the startup process. So when you have an idea, let's flesh it out. Let's talk about it. Let's see how we can bring you to the place of where you're really solid on that idea. You know what you want to do. That is exactly what it is. And then how do we build upon that foundation? And what I find is that a lot of people have an idea, don't know where to start, or they have an idea and they think it's going to be the best idea in the world, and it's not really what they want to do, which is something I experienced as we were talking pre-recording about a lice removal business that I thought about joining. There was a great franchise opportunity. I happened to be listening to a podcast, and they were talking to a nurse. She was an LPN and a school nurse. And she had started this lice removal business. She bought into this franchise, brought it in. She was making great money, doing really well. doing this. And I thought, ooh, that sounds like a great business opportunity. I researched it, found out that there were only two in our state. And so one way north, one towards the middle of the state. So I'm in the middle of that. And I'm like, that's a perfect location to have another franchise. Researched it, found out how much it's going to cost, all the things, and then sat down and thought about it and said, do you really want to remove head lice? No.
Yeah.
So what I recognized was that's not the business for me. And
Right.
so when I talk to my fellow nurses and I work with them, that's one of the things that we do at the beginning, at the start. Let's find out if this is really the right business for you, so that you're not wasting your time going through finding out all the details of it and then saying, oh, I really don't want to do this. And that's what a lot of people do. I talked to a nurse who was adamant she wanted to start a home care agency. She was working in home care. She had already started an adult daycare. It was going well. She was looking to expand. And she kept saying, I want to provide the CNAs for these people that need help at home. And I want to provide them to the facilities that need help. And she kept saying that. I said, so you want to provide CNAs to other businesses and maybe at home? She's like, yeah, and I want to do this. I said, well, it sounds like you really don't want to do home care. It sounds like you want to have a staffing agency. And she said, this is why I couldn't get my business off the ground. She had tried twice to open this home care. And I said, you're in the wrong business.
Yeah.
You want a staffing agency. Do that, because that's going to make you happier, because that's actually what you want to do.
Yeah. That's but there's a lot in there. I was jotting notes. So first, let me thank you. I work a lot with healthcare, personally and professionally, and nurses and nurse practitioners are the backbone of our system. No offense to the doctors out there, but so much work goes unappreciated. I also just lost my dad a little over a month ago. Uh, was in senior living. He had dementia. So, I work closely with people do what you do. And I know you're doing amazing work. So thank you for that, because it's so unappreciated. And I just wanted to throw that out there first.
Well, I'm going to say thank you and my condolences on the loss of your father, because having gone through that myself, I know it's rough.
Yeah. Yeah. When they go through something like dementia and Alzheimer's, death is a different kind of burden. You know what I mean? I'm happy for him, if that makes any sense at all. But let's talk about happier things. Not that I really appreciate what you said there about how you're guiding people into figuring out what their passion is, and I tend to not get involved with businesses before they start. I tend to work with businesses after they're up and going, and then they're trying to scale and get to that next level. And that's kind of where I focus. But because I'm in that business, a lot of people come to me and say, I'm thinking about this, what do you think about that? And I probably talk at least once or twice a week to somebody who's thinking about starting a business. And, I tend to look at what they're good at, what they're passionate about, and then what people will pay you to do. If you're going to start a business, you almost need that trifecta. Yes. Sounds like you're really focusing in on what you're passionate about, which is so important. How do you walk them through that? How do you help them find that niche?
Well, first of all, I ask them two questions. Why do you want to have a business? What is it going to fulfill for you? What's going to make you get up and go into your business when nobody else shows up, but you have to be there, right? You have to find that why. And the second question asks, why does your business exist? What need are you meeting in the marketplace? And you have to answer those two questions before we go on. Okay. Because a lot of times we have an idea, oh, we want to do this business, but there's not a market for it. It's not, or your focus is not on what the customers are actually needing or wanting. So you have to find that need that's out there. And one of the things that I noticed before I started working with the Nurse Shark Academy, is that a lot of people kept saying to me, oh, nurses can own businesses. Or a nurse would say to me, I didn't know I could own a business. And I would say, why not? You can be a business owner. If you can write a nursing care plan, you can write a business plan. And so I found, because I, like you, were getting calls from people after they started their business. And it was like these 911 calls, I like to call them, where they say,
Mm,
oh, the state's in my building and they're doing an audit and now I have to fix some things. Or the IRS is at my door, or my attorney now says I've got these problems and issues. And I thought, why are we letting people just go out there and not build that firm foundation so that they have a solid business? I said,
yeah.
why, waste all their time, their money, their energy, their frustration, and then suddenly think, well, my business is not going to be successful. Well, it can be if you start the right way.
Hmm.
And so I had a business owner reach out to me who said she's ready to expand her business. I'm like, okay, great, wonderful. She wants to hire an office manager to open up her new location. I said, great, I'll help you find someone. Send me your job description. And I got a list of job duties. And I'm like, oh, this isn't a job description. Um, what exactly do you want this person to do? I said, how will you train them in your process that you have at your other office? And she goes, well, it's all in my head. Well, I said, well, that's not going to help you in training that person to duplicate what you're doing there, because you want it to be successful. The process should be the same across the board so there won't be any confusion. So helping her work through that process. So a lot of times as business owners, particularly nurses, we're really great at doing the thing, right?
Hmm.
We are awesome at our job in nursing, but we haven't had the training for business. And that
Yeah.
making that leap from employee to entrepreneur is difficult for some people.
Yeah.
I'm working with a nurse now. She happens to be working for me in a contract position, and she's never really done a contract position before.
Mm,
So she's like, she's only had, W-2 employment. So she's not used to all those things that happen. And so I had explained to her what an independent contractor would be, because you're hired to do a specific thing at a specific time, and that's it. And it's because I needed a clinical instructor. And so we don't understand sometimes the business aspect of it. And we
mhm.
talk about branding and marketing, we talk about sales, we talk about networking with a purpose,
Yeah.
and how to do that without feeling icky.
Right.
Okay. You can be in sales and do all the things that you're supposed to do without feeling icky, because we come from a service perspective.
Absolutely.
We're there to serve other people. We're there to be the answer to their need. And if
Hmm.
you start with that, then it doesn't feel so icky to pick up that phone and call that person that you need to talk to, right? Because
Yeah.
you're offering your services as a help and a need. And if they don't need them right now, that's fine. But
Yeah.
maybe later they will.
Yeah.
And
I,
so,
I I'm always working with my clients that are struggling with sales, and that they'll say the same thing. Oh, I don't want to come
mhm,
off as a used car salesman, or
mhm,
I don't want to come off pushy or icky, right? I don't want to ask people I know for opportunities, because I just feel uncomfortable asking my friends for work. And I'm like, it's not about asking your friends for work. It's about asking your friends to help connect you to the right people. It's all about expanding that network in a meaningful way so that you actually find the people that do need you.
we don't have a problem doing that when we say, hey, I just found this new recipe. It's great. You should try it. Or I just found the best pair of shoes. They're beautiful. Or I found this new movie and I loved it. You should go see it. We don't have a problem doing any of those things, right?
Right. Right.
So if you are the best, latest, greatest thing, when you want someone to know about it, if you can answer their problem and you can solve their problem, of course.
Yeah,
and and,
absolutely.
and so we don't, as much as we promote other products and we talk about this, how many times do we recommend a series on, let's say, Netflix or
Right.
Amazon and say you should watch this show, it's great? We don't get a check from Netflix or Amazon for
Yeah.
doing it. But I can say, if you're working with in your business and you're helping others, it will come back to you. And you start from a position of wanting to just be of service and help.
Yeah,
It may not
absolutely.
come back to you
Amen.
monetarily, you know, at the outset, but eventually it will come back to you. So you just got to be intentional about what you do and be open to talking to other people and learning from them. So I frequently meet people, and I like to think of myself as a connector of people. And
Hmm.
my job is to find out what you do so that if you need help in an area, if I can't help you, I know someone who will.
Yeah.
And that's my whole mindset when I go to any connecting event, networking events, any mastermind, meetup, whatever. My goal is to be of service.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, it's that giver's gain mindset that, uh, Go Giver is a great book that kind of emphasizes that idea. If you're just focused on giving your service, uh, the opportunities will come flooding back to you.
The universe will provide. Yes.
Yeah, it's amazing how that works.
Hmm.
Um, so you've been in business now, gosh, I guess it depends on which business, anywhere from 9 years to 15 years
Yeah.
or whatever. Uh,
Hmm.
what's been the biggest surprise to you? Because I know exactly what you're talking about with nurses. I've worked with several with my healthcare clients, and nurses are problem solvers. Person
Yes.
comes in, they're crashing, they're doing CPR, they know how to solve the problem, but they don't know the bigger picture kind of thinking,
Hmm.
that aspect of running a business, that entrepreneurial mindset. So you came from that background, so I'm guessing either you never had that issue, or maybe it was one of those aha moments early on. So, um, what was the biggest learning that you went through in those early days?
Well, since I never thought I was ever going to be an entrepreneur, that was like the furthest from my mind. Yeah, I was, I never even had the desire to start a business. I was a side hustler. Okay.
Mhm.
So my idea was just to do enough to make some extra cash. And that was always in my mind. And it always started that way. So I was a nursing student and I got trained to teach CPR so that I can get extra cash as a poor
Mhm.
college student. Okay. That was it. And I had corporate contracts without even realizing it could be a business. I didn't even think that way. I
Yeah.
just thought I'm making extra cash. And so I would go to these doctors' offices and they'd say, come train all my staff. I was like, sure. And I would charge them like something like $25 or something like that for a student back then. Um, and then I realized as I got into the business world, there was so much more I could do,
Mhm.
that I could take that and turn that into a business. And then I realized I could teach others to do the same. And because of my background in education, I thought, why isn't someone out here helping nurses get started?
Mhm.
When I started in business, I went to some wonderful organizations like SCORE and the SBA, and they're great. But what I found is that a lot of those organizations don't have people who are skilled in healthcare and could speak the language to nurses
Yeah.
and others in the healthcare field. They don't understand the healthcare industry.
Hmm.
And so I had a client that is a massage therapist, and she was starting a massage therapy school. And she, because of where she was sent to SCORE, and the person there was just really kind of poo-pooing what she wanted to do. You can't
Mm.
do that, you shouldn't do that, and I said, you absolutely can do that, and let's work through and find out how. I mean, one of the things I know how to do is open up training schools. That's one of
Hmm.
my expertise. And so I said, let's find out what the regulations are. We'll contact the board of massage. We'll talk to your accrediting agency, all the things that we need to do. We'll look for the textbooks, the curriculum that you may need to have. What are the requirements so that you can meet accreditation standards? And we'll get it done. And so we were working on that project for her. And and again, I love going to SCORE, and I still go to events that they have because I learn
Mhm.
things from them all the time.
Sure.
But if you're going to pick a coach or a mentor, pick somebody that is knowledgeable about the industry that you're in. And I think for me, that was one of the biggest challenges, was finding that mentor to help me in the industry that I'm in.
Yeah.
And so there are some wonderful coaches. So when I have my business up and going and all the things, I've invested in coaching for myself, and I'm working with a wonderful coach now that's
Mhm.
really helped me to see some things. Like, I had to raise my prices working with
Yeah.
attorneys. She gave me permission to give myself a raise twice because it's like, you're not charging enough. This is
Yeah.
what but again, I just love doing the work. And this is what happens, is that we just love doing the work. We don't necessarily know the business side. So,
Yeah.
and that was very instrumental for me. And I've spent a lot of time investing and myself and learning more about business, how things work, where do we go to get the best assistance as far as like legal advice, making sure that I did things like trademarking and all these
Mhm.
things. Intellectual property is another big thing that we don't know about. I had one of my clients picked a name for her business, and I said, "Did you check and see if anybody else has that name?" Sure enough, she had found the name was because she had seen another apartment complex. She was wanting to open up an apartment building with that same name. I said, "You can't do that,
Yeah.
especially being in the same state." I was like,
Not in the same
"That-
town or
that's not
same
going to work.
region.
You
Yeah.
need to choose a different name. Even if it's just a smaller version, you have to be careful about your logo, that you're not, look too much like theirs. I mean, there's reasons for this." So
Yeah.
we were able to find her a different name that worked out well for her.
Yeah. And I appreciate the comment on coaching. I'm obviously that's what I do, bulk of my job, and uh, I don't know how many clients I've had that same conversation with about pricing. And,
Hmm.
we've been going through incredible inflation. Everybody's getting beat up right now. We're all paying higher expenses, but yet most of my clients won't are afraid to
Yeah.
ask for an increase, and it's it's a time where I'll say, are your expenses going up? Your expenses are going up, and probably they're used to that too. You got
Hmm.
to figure out how you do it, how the timing of it, and how you communicate it, and all that kind of stuff needs to be thought through. But it is that it's funny. Just you said your coach gave you permission to give yourself a raise twice, and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
It's just so true. We often are just helping our clients um, make those decisions that are uh, obvious to a third party, but really hard to do, by yourself.
It is sometimes hard to do. I mean, there's things that I do, and I said, "Now you tell your clients to do this. Now you have to get up and do this."
Yeah.
It's as simple as sometimes going on social media. There's so many nurses that I talk to that are just, you know, too shy, I would say. They have a hard
Hmm.
time finding their voice. And so I say, why aren't you promoting what you're doing? Nobody is going to find you if you don't talk about it. And if you're talking about it and being self-depreciating and all of these things, why would anybody trust you, right, to work with you? So you have to be confident when you're talking about what you're doing.
Yeah.
And so I talk to them and say, let's talk about it and share it and promote it in a way that feels good and organic and authentic for you. I am very much into authenticity. I do not believe in gimmicky things, and people know that if I'm on social media, you may get me, and I may be in my bonnet. I may because I forget. I do a 30-day gratitude challenge every year in November.
Yeah.
And I go live on Instagram for 30 days, and I just share what I'm grateful for. So, but it's a discipline to have you go live every day.
Hmm.
And sometimes I forget, and it's like 10 o'clock at night. I'm already ready for bed, and I'm like, I forgot to do my gratitude today. So I hop on. I don't care. And I'm like, hey, look, you got me in my bonnet today. My hair is already up. I'm getting ready to go to bed, but I have to stay in integrity. and give you my day of gratitude and what I'm grateful for today. And so, that authenticity. Now, do I recommend you, not be prepared? No, I'm just saying that sometimes letting people in and behind the scenes and seeing the real you, that's important, because then they begin to trust you.
Yeah. Yeah. Very, very well said. Well, Tina, this has been great. I think we're of similar mindset in so many ways, and I feel honored to be in in that company with you. So I think we share a similar passion. So I've really enjoyed this conversation. If there's a nurse out there that is maybe thinking about, gosh, is this all there is? How do they get in touch with you? What's the best way of starting this journey, or at least exploring it?
They can always reach out to me at the Nurse Shark Academy. So that's the nurse-shark-academy.biz. And you can always reach out to me there, or you can find me on my social media. I'm on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. You can reach out. And again, there's a variety of ways. And the easiest, of course, is the website, the nurse-shark-academy.biz. And I appreciate just having a conversation with you.
Excellent. Well, we'll make sure to put that that URL in the show notes, and appreciate your time again, and look forward to seeing where your journey proceeds as you continue to grow and make an impact on the world. So thanks again for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you liked it, please share or like it on whatever platform you use. You can find me on social media. On most platforms, I'm John K. Jennings. My first book is also available. Your Baby is Ugly tells you about 10 truths that business owners need to hear, but often won't, and how to overcome them. You can find it on Amazon. Just search for Your Baby is Ugly. And be watching for our next episode, where I'll interview another business owner who will share their stories and insights into what it's like to create a great business.